Hello, I'm Carolyn Eldridge-Alfonzetti. My story in the South of the Sun Anthology is called Hundreds and Thousands. I'm a member of the Fellowship of Australian Writers, and each year my branch's members compete to write an original myth, folk or fairy tale in honour of our late friend John Kelly, an Irishman and wonderful storyteller. Hundreds and Thousands was prompted by that challenge and my background as a home economist that often sees food sneaking into the stories and children's books I now write. And here's a tiny taster of Hundreds and Thousands for you now. Don't shy away. I know you find my wrinkled face and ungainly gait repellent, but I won't hurt you. I just want to tell you a story. It's a true story, a fairy story. Not one, however, for the ears of children. Before I begin, am I right in assuming you consider fairies to be the creatures of European imagination? I thought so. Most Australians do. But I tell you, those wee winged creatures existed here in a huge charm in the Blue Mountains during the 1920s. During that time, a young woman named Colleen had migrated to Australia from Ireland. Lured by stories of blue sky and good job prospects for cooks in New South Wales, she saved hard for her sea passage. Not long after her arrival, she secured a job in the kitchen of the wealthy Addington family, who lived in a fine house with views over that great blue-grey bowl of the Magalong Valley, where for thousands of years the Gundungurra people had lived before them. Like most Irish, Colleen had been brought up on stories of fairies, leprechauns and saints. She believed in both magic and miracles and never doubted her eyes when at dusk one day, as she tipped potato peelings into the rubbish heap behind the low wall of the kitchen garden, she saw dappled sunlight glinting on the delicate wings of a dozen flitting fairies. Each wore a diaphanous blue, green, yellow, pink or white gown and darted about as if playing with the bees that hovered above the thorny canes of the blackberry bushes. Colleen's God-fearing grandmother had warned her many times about fairy folk. They were devious creatures that were not to be trusted. Well, that's the tiny taster of my story. To find out what happens to Colleen and those fairy folk, you'll need to purchase a copy of that smorgasbord of Australian fairy tales, South of the Sun.